Welcome back to the Body Show here on the Rise News. It's now time to review some of the headlines in today's newspapers. And Steve, can you do us the honors?
Absolutely, Aaron. Yes, we'll start with This Day on Saturday, the newspaper of record, where the lead story here says, allow people's choice to prevail. Abdulsalami's peace committee tells presidential candidates, urges them to moderate language at campaign grounds. This is, the story that we referenced while discussing the clip that we saw of the Peace Committee's event in Abuja at Transcorp yesterday.
But I don't think Showore got the memo.
Well,
with the pictures he posted, I don't think he got the memo.
It says moderate your language. What he has done now is to post even more clearer pictures on Twitter to support his claim that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the candidate of the APC, dozed off or did sleep for...
He said he slept through the meeting.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at a still photograph, you don't know for how long that is. But what I'm saying is that he has since posted or tweeted fresh photographs that are clearer and that are apparently from that meeting, which shows clearly that Asiwaju has his eyes closed.
But you know what they say? A picture is worth more than 1,000 words.
One more than a thousand. But I get your point about the fact that will Showore's attitude or behavior, will it be considered to be in sync with what they have signed, the peace accord that they have signed? I think that he will argue that, no, I'm just basically saying that this is one of the leading competitors, is one of, of the contestants, and he slept, as he said, throughout the meeting, and that maybe that can be a campaign tool for him to suggest that there are issues, as they have always said, about the fitness and possibly the health of the person. What worries me, though, is the coincidence of the pictures that Showore is releasing to the trending video of the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, a 90-year-old man who has been on the seat for 40 good years, when he attended the U.S. Africa Summit in Washington late last year, and he was clearly lost as to where he was. The Paul Biya video, for want of a better word, is an embarrassment to his country, Cameroon, and to Africa, and it has, raised the debate about when you have elderly Africans seeking political office or not leaving at the time that they are meant to leave, when they're supposed to be in retirement, enjoying, playing with their grandchildren and co, that it rubs off badly on the continent of Africa and what we stand for.
Yes.
So the pictures and the narrative about the photographs of Asiwaju at that peace accord meeting, is coming at a time that people are, deliberately discussing on the Paul Biya videos. Will there be nexus as to the fact that Asiwaju will be 71? He's not the oldest running, by the way. Atiku Abubakar is 76. If he wins, he will be closer to 77. The president of Nigeria is 80 anyway. He became president at 72. Joe Biden, as you know, became president at 77. So people might be worried. And these pictures might again suggest that, didn't we say that Asiwaju ought to be resting rather than be put through this rigorous, time-consuming, health-challenging sort of political campaign, and that will he have the state of mind and the physical fitness to go through, even if he wins. But of course, as I said earlier, that I'm sure that there will be a good response from his team to say that, hey, what are you talking about? How many of all the candidates have done what he has done, even since the beginning of this year, moving from point A to B? And if he dozed off, if nature calls momentarily at that meeting, maybe it's just one of those things. That's what they will say. So other stories on today's, this day, on the cover of this day, federal government fixes March 29 to April 2nd for national population census. Non-Nigerians to be counted. I think, of course, there's been debate around the propriety of having the census after the election rather than before the election. That maybe it will have been better to have an idea of how many are we before we now go into that election. That will have strengthened what INEC is saying in terms of the fact that 93 Nigerians now have, registered, they have PVCs, but how many people will turn out to vote? Maybe there's a way that it will corroborate what INEC is telling Nigerians, but then let's wait for the census to proceed as said, as stated. But those are the dates, and it looks like it has the backing of the law, and it has the money released already from the budget. So we will see that if let's have a fair idea of how many we are. Right which cities are overpopulated, how many houses are we dealing with, that can help in planning and in policy formulation. On top of the masthead, NCDC moves to checkmate diphtheria as disease claims 25 lives in Kano. Wow. That's a story on page 5, and a lot of people will have to be concerned if 25 people, have been killed already, and this disease, this infection, is said to have been recorded in Lagos as well, and it's a throat and nose infection that a vaccine, and there's a vaccine for it, can deal with. But what we will expect that the NCDC will do is to move in quickly, the same way that they did with COVID, and supply, give information to people, and then let people be aware that this infection, because these days a lot of people, you just see people coughing, people sneezing, you're not sure whether it is mere cold or flu or COVID or diphtheria, so people will just have to be aware. And on the window, CBN steps up nationwide sensitization on new Naira notes, directs DMBs, MMOs to swap cash in rural, underserved areas. This speaks to what you were saying earlier about the fact that underserved areas will have issues because they basically deal in cash transactions. How are you catering to their needs, in those underserved areas? I think this is a good move from the CBN, 10 days to the deadline. Will this be sufficient? As we had discussed earlier, CBN will need to convince Nigerians that it's up to the task. Last but not the least is the story on Ekweremadu, and it says that Ekwuremadu's 40 buildings court vacates interim forfeiture order, again on page 5. That would be good news to the former deputy Senate President, who's going through a lot, still in incarceration in the UK. So this will look like come out as a respite for him on those 40 buildings of his. 40 buildings,
that's a lot.
That's a lot, isn't it? You have to be a multi-billionaire to have 40 buildings. That's for him. Let's hope that the court will do the needful, and if those buildings are they're found to be his and acquired legally, why deny him of his property?
Yes. Now let's look at the Saturday Vanguard. We have some major headlines there. Okay, let's start it off from the headline that reads, Bloody January. Nigeria loses 508 citizens to violence, accidents, others in 19 days.
Wow.
This is the 21st of January, and in 19 days in this new year, we've already lost 508 citizens. These are the things that we need to...
That's sad.
It's sad, and we need to pay attention to them.
Pay attention?
They always...
Particularly by the government in power.
Yes.
Because it will look to a lot of people as if we're merely in transition and that we can't wait for a new government to come in.
That's the mindset of the government, or that's the body language of the government. The mindset of the people are also looking at what will the next government do for us, because they are not looking at what is happening now. Because between now and the 25th of February, if you still ask me, it's still a lot of days.
It's not 25th. That's just the election day. The new government won't be in place till the 29th of May.
Yeah. So,
and therefore, if in the first 20 days of 2023, violence, crime, etc., have taken over, what is the government of the day doing? Your mandate expires on May 29th, not on the 25th of February. Yeah, and your only job for this year is not, your job is not just to conduct the elections. Your job is to secure lives and property and ensure the well-being of the people.
It should be a balance. It should be a balanced act. Yeah. But it's unfortunate that, as they say about some politicians, is that they live for elections as against service to the people. Sadly, because you look at the fuel situation here in Nigeria. For example, people are saying that as an opportunity to make a referendum on what happens on the 25th of February. But you and I know this, like you said, governance continues after the 25th of February as it will span till May, and a lot still needs to be done. But moving on from there, just above the headline there, it reads corruption allegation. Keyamo seeks court order for Atiku's arrest and trial. That's on page 8 of the Vanguard. And something on football. Nigeria football is corrupt and rotten. From a goalie, Ida Peterside says NFF election was a crime scene.
Really? Yeah. Aaron, I mean, talk to us about a crime scene.
I don't think
was that election bought?
I was there. I was present there in Benin City, and I don't think it was a crime scene, but certainly what people have termed vote buying was very prevalent, as monies exchanged hands between candidates. As a matter of fact, some candidates that did not win the election accosted those that voted in that particular elections, state FA chairman and others that were other representatives that were present there, to refund what was given to them because they didn't deliver.
Really?
True life story. So, if it says football is corrupt and rotten, we saw a lot of drama happen in Benin. And at some point he said that EFCC needed to be invited. Okay? Just before we go
on a break.
Before we go on a break quickly, on the top right corner of the Vanguard, it reads, Wike approves the use of stadium for Atiku's campaign rally. He says waives 5 million naira fee.
Isn't that remarkable? He has done Atiku a great deal of favor, isn't it? But why won't he allow it anyway?
That's the question.
Why will be a big deal? Yeah. I mean, that's the candidate of your party. Even if you are still gallivanting, moving about with, the other 4 governors, it's a no-brainer that the candidate of your party will have a fairly easy access in your state to campaign. You don't have to agree with him. You don't have to be there. But I think this is the proper thing.
Yeah, this is the proper. He did write it. And just below that, it says the federal government denies hiking petrol pump price as scarcities persist.
Okay, so petrol fuel is still 165. That's what they're saying, and not 185 has been alleged.
I bought yesterday morning, and it was 184.
184
at the NNPC filling station.
I know a lot of people who are buying more than 200 per litre in this Lagos.
Yeah. That's the federal government cannot deny that, but certainly fuel price in NNPC.
It's a shame, isn't it? A big failure of government. But
I don't know what to say.
This is where we are.
I don't know what to say.
Well, we'll come right back. We have to go on a quick break, and when we return, the review of the headlines in today's newspapers will continue. Do stay with us.
You're still watching the morning show here on the Rise News. Now, to continue the review of the headlines of today's newspapers, Steve is helping us with The Guardian.
All right, so we have The Guardian, and the banner headline here says, anxiety as kidnappers go on rampage nationwide. 6 pupils kidnapped in Nasarawa.
Wow.
Catholic catechist whisked in Kaduna. Monarch wives 6 children among victims in Taraba. 15 abducted, 3 killed in Edo. Imo Council chairman shot, abducted with 2 friends. Residents raised. We are now at the mercy of God.
Really sad.
I mean, this is pretty similar to the story that we had from the Vanguard.
Yes.
The bloody January, Nigeria loses 508 citizens to violence, accidents, others in 19 states. Look at what The Guardian is also now showing us. Banditry, kidnapping, rampage nationwide. I mean, this can be good. I mean, this can be what we elected a government to do.
No.
You know, I mean, and the media is basically doing his job to draw attention to the fact that somebody is not paying attention. Those who are supposed to work assiduously to make sure that Nigerians are safe are not. This is not about statistics. This is not about the fact that, where we met things in 2015, we have improved. No, we are saying that in January,
the reality of things on the ground.
Reality on the ground.
Yeah.
January of 2023, this is where we are.
Although some security experts will say that as we get closer to the elections, insecurity actually heightens.
That's correct. But then the authorities are not aware of that. If they are aware, what are you doing about it?
That's the question.
Lives of Nigerians at stake here.
That's the question.
An interesting picture on the cover of The Guardian, sleeping dangerously. Some street kids taking a nap on the Oshodi rail line in Lagos yesterday. Coming barely how many weeks after what happened in Abuja, where that lady who worked with the NTA, lost her life. People were sleeping, on the rail line.
And in broad daylight.
In broad daylight. That is just not.
It's really sad. I don't know whether the culture of respecting rail lines would ever kick in Lagos State and maybe Nigeria, whereby you do not see, because the rail sector has been moribund for quite a while. That is why this is not the first.
No.
This will not be the last, whereby people will be caught napping on the rail line because they are almost certain. Which is erroneous. They are almost certain that trains do not, the activities and the traffic on those rail lines are either absence or very minimal.
Absolutely. Okay.
This is painful.
Let's quickly look at the Saturday Tribune before we call it a day on the morning show today. And the lead story there says, disquiet in APC over North support for Tinubu. Majority of Northern APC governors are against ex-Lagos governor. That's according to Yerima, who's the Arewa Youth Forum leader. Tinubu sends Shetima to lobby Northwest palaces. I'm sure that we will go through all these. Is the North really behind Tinubu or not?
But I don't know what has changed between the primaries and now, because we know that my last count, 13 APC governors
in the North.
In the North stood behind.
Absolutely.
Tinubu, and they were instrumental in him picking up that ticket of the APC. I don't know what has changed between then and now, but that's politics for you.
It doesn't look like nothing has changed, but then in this arena, things don't always appear as they seem.
True.
But you just have to see what's going on. 2 more quick stories before we go. Nobody has ever succeeded in buying Nigeria with money. Northerners not stupid. That's according to Dele Momodu, who is Atiku's spokesman. And in one of the stories on the window, Buhari coming to Lagos for what has been tagged a festival of project commissioning on Monday by the Lagos state government. I think there are about 4 landmark projects that the president will commission. The blue rail is there, which of course I'm sure that Lagos government of course will trace, to the ingenuity of the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which the governor is completing. And then there are 2 other key projects that I think that the Ambode government started, which is the JK Randu a center, you know, in the heart of Onikom. Brilliant idea. And of course, the Immortal Rice Mill, which Sanwo-Olu, you know, has finished
Now,
off.
for Steve, but for Lagosians that probably would care about these projects,
yes,
but we always want to go about their daily business.
Yeah,
this is almost like a nightmare verdict.
It will be there will be issues of traffic, but then Lagosians will enjoy this project, so they should bear with the Lagos State government and with the federal government.
It's already a nightmare in Lagos.
Well,
moving around Lagos,
just
don't thanks to the POQs.
Just for a day or two. Just for a day or two.
Okay.
Aaron, that brings us to the end of the morning show today.
Steve.
Thank you for watching. I'm Steve Ayorinde.
And I am Aaron Akrejala for my entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria. Enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.